Alright, hope this works. 3, 2, 1, I'm hoping this will work. So this will be a tier list ranking of all of the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters in this tier list ranking. Now, this is going to be brutally honest. Hold on, let me see if this mic is on. Yes it is. Okay, so this will be a brutally honest tier list ranking. And before we start, I'm just going to do something real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, sorry about that. So, this tier list ranking is going to be a brutally honest tier list ranking of all the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters that are, well, the main characters in the story. So here we've got F tier, E tier, D tier, C tier, B tier, and A tier, and S tier. So whenever I put these characters in there, I will have to put them in here with the best of my ability and also the best of my honesty. So this will be an honest tier list ranking of all the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters. So if you see someone that is not on your tier list, then that's okay. If you disagree with my opinions, then that's okay. So with that out of the way, let's go over with the worst characters in the series. Now we've got now these characters we have Susan Grimshaw, Abigail Roberts / Marston, Strauss, Reverend Swanson, Sean Maguire, Josiah Trelawny, Angelo Bronte, Arthur Morgan, Bill Williamson, Catherine Braithwaite, Charles Smith, Dutch Van der Linde, Eagle Flies, I almost didn't recognize that character next to Dutch, my bad. Gavin, I'm just going to say Gavin, or Gavin's friend, Hosea Matthews, Jack Marston, Javier Escuela, that image almost threw me off there, I'm sorry. John Marston, Karen Jones, Kieran Duffy, Lenny Summers, Leviticus Cornwall, Mary Beth Gaskell, Micah Bell, Molly O'Shea, Simon Pearson, I think that's his real name, Rainsfall, Col Driscoll, Sadie Adler, Tilly Jackson, and Uncool. So, let's start off with the F tier. Now, the F tier, Strauss. Honestly, Strauss was a bit of a nuisance in the entirety of the Red Dead Redemption 2 story. I feel like he did not have any relevance to the gang's downfall whatsoever, and he certainly didn't have a relevance, like, in the whole story in general. He was just there to basically order the player to do these optional honor-like depth missions, which can be missable if you don't, are not the type of people that have, if you're not the type of person to not, get the achievement where you complete every honor mission in one playthrough, which I did on my very first playthrough magically. I did all the depth missions, and the character of Strauss was, so annoying. All he does, really, is nothing special. He just sits at camp, greets ya, and all in all, you can either greet or antagonize him, and what he does is that he orders you around to fill in these debts. You get the debts from the person that you're ordered to get the debt from, you go back to camp, you put the debt in the lockbox, or the camp box, or whatever you call it, and basically you continue this until Chapter 6. And when you do that, you'll be thankful, by the way, because, spoilers, I hope not. I hope there's a person watching this that has completed Red Dead Redemption 2, because there's going to be I'm going to be diving into spoiler territory, so if you have not completed the story of Red Dead Redemption 2, this will contain spoilers. So honestly, Strauss never really had any relevancy in Red Dead Redemption 2. All you do is fill in these, depth missions, and once you get to Chapter 6, you'll have the option to go back to Strauss in camp after realizing the error of, what you know, the error of his ways and stuff like that, and you basically just tell him to get the fuck out of camp. And doing so will net you a big honor boost, and it's actually one of the most honorable things you can do in the game if you pay attention to one of the honorable missions, and, you know, if you do all the debt missions in the chapters onwards. So, in my opinion, Strauss is F tier, so there's really no competition for that. Next is Leviticus Cornwall. Now, Leviticus Cornwall, he is slightly better than, well, not slightly better, but is on par with the same tier as Strauss, mainly because he barely appears in the story and shows no relevancy. Well, a tiny bit of relevancy, unlike Strauss. But basically, in Chapter 1, you rob a train that belonged to Leviticus Cornwall, right? And you meet him for the first time physically towards the end of Chapter 2, where you basically just where you basically do a big shootout in the city of Valentine, or the state of Valentine, not like a whole city, but you basically do like a whole shootout in Valentine, and that's when you do this like really cool shootout, and this is where we get to see like the first physical appearance of Leviticus Cornwall. And Leviticus Cornwall is supposed to be like this almost intimidating rich person who owns like everything, like from like everything in Red Dead Redemption 2 and, you know, everything from the outside world. But all in all, that first impression really didn't grow on me, because all he was doing actually was hiring the Pinkertons to you know, detain Dutch and Arthur Morgan, for example, because that's all he really does. He was just, you know, being, you know, demanding, where he was just ordering the Pinkertons to get Dutch, Van der Linde, and Arthur Morgan. That was really it. But the problem being was that I thought this Leviticus Cornwall was going to be this big figure that was going to, you know, end up having a lasting impression on the Van der Linde gang. And that, well, it was more quite the opposite, in fact. It was the Van der Linde gang, specifically Dutch, that left a lasting impression on, it was the Van der Linde gang that left their lasting impression on Leviticus Cornwall, and I think that for this reason alone, I just feel as if Leviticus Cornwall barely did nothing in the story. He was only present for like in what, 2 missions? The first time you see him, and then bam, the second and last mission, Dutch just shoots the poor fucker dead with a pistol, and that's it. That's all you get from this character. There's literally barely anything you can get from this guy. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but hey, at least I'm not complaining. Now, for this, we're going to be moving on to, where is it? For the next person on E tier, this is probably going to be the last one, by the way, but I'm just gonna have to make sure. But the next one is Angelo Bronte. Now, Angelo Bronte, I thought he was really going to be a good character. But then again, I was wrong. Seeing as if I found out that he kidnapped Jack at the end of Chapter 3, I just knew that in somewhere deep down in my heart that I wouldn't be able to like this character. And don't get me wrong, despite him being at the bottom end of this tier list, there's another part of me that just wants to move him upwards, because he actually displayed a bit of charisma. He actually displayed a bit of a bigger impression on me than I think I would have anticipated. But Angelo Bronte just ended up being a annoying villain at the end of Chapter 4, which I think is not one of the main reasons why he deserved his brutal comeuppance at the end of Chapter 4, but I feel as if once you get to Angelo Bronte and rescue Jack, that's it, and the rest is kind of like, oh, you get to follow what Angelo Bronte had instructed you to do, and then you find out that it's a big fucking setup, and he tricked you into, you know, baiting you into, like, going into a bit of a ruse. And then, this mission, you escape from the Saint Denis police, which is a really good mission, by the way, and then you just sort of do this, mission where you got to go infiltrate his mansion and then kill the guy. That's it. That's all there is. And to think that that in this tier list right here, I think that's all there is to it. So these are all the F tier characters, at least in my opinion. We got Strauss, Cornwall, and Bronte, and we still got a fair bit to go, but yeah, we also have a lot of to go. So E tier. What's on E tier? So on E tier we have Micah. Poor Micah. Now this is where I'm going to go on this big debate, but heed my words. Micah is a hated character in Red Dead Redemption 2, like so hated, yes. But at least he tried. At least the character development in this saga had tried. At least we have a bit of a more on-point character development than the 3 characters on this list. But I think you have to take my opinion with a grain of salt, because Strauss, Bronte, and Cornwall are basically just on this tier list because I think, in my opinion, they showed absolutely no relevancy to the story. They're just here to be, you know, obstacles in the way of the Van Lin gang, and that's about it. But Micah, at least he tried. At least he tried with the character, and I feel like the actor did an amazing job as Micah. I feel like he did an absolutely amazing job as Micah, but I just knew from my suspicions alone that I wasn't going to like Micah, simply because he had like this tough bitch attitude, which I didn't feel like I never really liked about the character anyways. He was always, oh, I'm the tough guy and I'm gonna follow Dutch, like that was basically the whole personality trait of Micah. It was him caring about nobody other than himself. He was basically just here to be with the character of, like, be with Arthur and the gang and stuff like that. And the Strawberry Shootout was when I really started to not like Micah, because, you know, he killed innocent people, and I'm like, right, that's it. I think this guy's going to draw the line sooner rather than later. And when he joined the Pinkertons, I just despised Micah even more, because even after he, quote-unquote, killed Arthur, depending on your honor level in the game, I was just lost. But thankfully, all the playthroughs I got in Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur was always high honor for me, so at least I wasn't killed by Micah at least once. But when you get to American Venom, and when you kill Micah as John, my satisfaction had been, like, fulfilled. Like, you kill Micah, who is technically the actual main villain of the game, and that's it. You kill Micah, you get the Blackwater stash, along with the money they've accumulated, along with the money he and Dutch have accumulated all these, like, 8 years, and you literally become rich at the end of the game. That's it. You're financially secured, and yada yada yada. The events of Red Dead Redemption 1 start, but it's like a 4-year time gap, so there's that. But I have to say, Micah, the actor, he did an amazing job, and his character development at least tried. But sincerely, in my opinion, my hate of the character has not been put out. It's like a flame already filled up with intense gasoline. But yeah, that's it. So that's Micah. Okay, so in E tier we have Catherine Braithwaite. Now, she was another one of those, like, characters who I honestly could not even, you know, bear to, you know, hear from again, because, like Strauss and all these other characters in the lowest tier possible, she was annoying, and I couldn't really, you know, feel any like, well, in my opinion, I couldn't really feel anything bad towards her after well, in the final mission in Chapter 3, you burn down her house and kill her family. And, well, you kill one of her family, but I think it's all of her family. I don't know. But I didn't really feel any bad for Catherine, mainly because of my lack of, or lack thereof, lack of any, change towards the character. She was always this, rich, she was a bit, kinda, well, it's hard to say, but, she was kinda, ego, she was like full of her ego. She was like, oh, I'm rich. And, she belongs to a rich family that existed long before the events of the series began, and, the events of, Chapter 3 were always, talking about, like, a blood feud, like an ancient blood feud that happened for a few years, and that was exactly that. But, honestly, when I saw Catherine Braithwaite, I just, like Micah, well, the points I made with Micah were very clear, but Catherine Braithwaite, at least she was more interesting than the other characters down on the previous tier. She had like a rich impression on the lore of Red Dead Redemption 2. She was like, she came from a rich family, but she never really struck my eye in particular when I saw her for the first time. That was when it clicked to me that sooner or later there's going to be a mission where you actually put a stop to the Grey and Braithwaite family feud, and that you do. And it's more or less like that. But the main thing is that you do this, and the second you do this, you are pulled in from another, like, chapter, because there's going to be some bad stuff going down, and that's exactly it. So, Catherine Braithwaite is E tier, so there's really no explanation for this. Alright, so, who's next? Who's next? Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry, but to all the British people that's going to be watching this, but Gavin's friend takes E tier. Now, Gavin's friend, or just Gavin, theoretically, is, well, you first encounter him when you're in the open world, and all he really does is wander around aimlessly, screaming out for the name Gavin, and it's like, what the hell, dude? Have you got nothing better to do? Like, it's literally just Gavin screaming, Gavin! And it's literally, just him in a nutshell. You've got Gavin's friend screaming the name Gavin repeatedly, and I mean over and over and over again. And what's even worse is that he can stalk the character, he can stalk you, and you can sometimes find him, like, for example, you can find him in Rhodes, you can find him in Blackwater, you can find him, like, pretty much nearly everywhere across the map, just screaming Gavin, and that's all he ever does. So, for that reason alone, I feel like that's, well... Oh god, this tier list is crazy. Like, we got the 3 lowest tier ones possible, and we still got, like, plenty. It's brutal honesty, I'm telling ya. It's really hard, because you've got Strauss, who barely does anything. You've got Leviticus Cornwall, that barely appears in any missions. You've got Angelo Bronte, who just doesn't do nothing at all, other than furiously proclaim that he's rich and that the world you're in, you're basically going to be outnumbered. But on the other hand, you got Micah, who's, well, a hated character in my opinion. You've got Catherine Braithwaite, who I really didn't feel for in Chapter 3, to be honest, and you've got Gavin's friend, who just fucking annoyed me. And that's exactly it. So, okay, now we're moving on to D tier. So D tier, we of course have, Carmel Driscoll. Now, Carmel Driscoll, he was alright. he was alright, and he was just kinda, you know, he's like a little bit sadistic. He came off as a bit sadistic, but I just knew right away that he was going to, like, sound off a bit better. Like the mission where you get kidnapped and you almost get killed by the O'Driscolls. That was pretty fun, and we also got to see a bit of an insight on what kind of person Carmel Driscoll is. Apparently, before the events of the second game, or the prequel, he was with Dutch in his gang, then a feud happened, and then a civil war between the two gangs happened. That's about it. And it even happened before the events of the game, and before we even barely got to know Colm, the gang was talking about the feud between the O'Driscolls and the Vanderland gang, and that's about it. And when I found that out, it kinda intrigued me, but this intrigue sorta died down, because Colm, he was sorta interesting, but not really, to be honest. He was like, well, he was like a borderline sadist. He was very sadistic in what he was doing. He was basically bringing in people who had like basic tenets of shoot, ride, kill, and that's about it. And then we've got the charismatic Dutch, who's always charismatic and could always tell from right or wrong. But because the further you progress through the story, the more, well, I guess you can say the more insane Dutch gets, because, you know, he becomes more paranoid and vice versa. The downfall of the gang occurs, and it's really sad. But Cole, on the other hand, he just didn't really feel like a gang leader too much. He might have left an impression on the O'Driscoll, sure, and they blindly follow him, but he's more of like a, well, like all the other characters in the tier list, he was more like obstacles in the way, and I feel like that's what Col O'Driscoll was. And he eventually gets hanged in Chapter 6, but like Leviticus Cornwall, he only physically appears in two missions. Chapter 3 and Chapter 6, he appears in these missions, and that's about it. There's literally nothing else to say, and I feel like that speaks in of itself. So, who do we got here? Who do we got next? So, what do we got? Okay, so that's D tier. Let's move on to C tier. Okay, Trelawny. At least we're going into a bit of the higher-ups now. We're in a bit of an in-between, but I'll be damned. Trelawny was actually a bit of an intriguing character. He was kinda on the meh side of things, which is where this tier comes in. But honestly, I found, his, mystery to be a bit overused and a bit, well, it was kind of like, oh, I'm with the Vanderland gang, but at the same time, he barely appears. Like, the only time you ever physically see him most of the time is in Chapter 3, where you rescue him from being kidnapped, and then he stays at your camp for a little bit, and that's about it. There's literally nothing else to say, but at least Trelawny, in my opinion, was a mysterious character in of itself. He was mysterious, and that's what I liked about him, but the problem being is that it was too overused, and if you overuse something, it's going to be definitely taken in the wrong direction, give or take that, the mystery will be overused. But, all in all, since Trelawny's in the middle tier, he's a bit of a meh character. We've got his mystery leaving an intriguing impression. He was a damn fine character, but I just feel like he could have had a lot more character. He could have a lot more character, but I don't know. It's all about being honest with these tier list rankings, right? So if you don't like my honesty, then that's okay. You can either take it with a grain of salt or just disagree with my points completely. But that's about it. That's literally what this is about. So yeah, that's about it. Kieran takes another spot for this tier list ranking, and I don't know about you, but he's kind of a meh character for me as well. First of all, you meet him as an O'Driscoll, And he's like, no, I'm not an O'Driscoll, please don't hurt me, mister. And then, you get this, like, you get this urge to, you either say, oh, I want to get rid of this guy, or I actually want to keep him, he actually sounds valuable, and that's about it. There's literally few missions of the character, few appearances, and one gang activity where you go fishing with him. And to be honest, the fishing activity with Kieran was kind of fun. I actually liked that stranger mission. But Kieran, I just don't really know. I'm kinda on the middle end of the stick, as if I like him or if I don't like him, hence the tier that he's on. But I just don't know. I just don't know with these two characters. Here's what I mean. We got Trelawny and we got Kieran, and that's about it. And with this in mind, I really don't know. But then again, it's me being honest, right? And so if you don't like it, then that's totally okay. And that's that. So I just don't know, guys. I just don't know. Okay, we've got who else can we put here? Okay. This is going to be a bit of a mixed bag for me, but Karen Jones is C tier as well. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Karen was also a neutral character in my opinion. At first impressions, like, for example, chapter 2, for example, she seemed a bit chilled and somewhat mellowed. Like, she was very chill and mellow, and then at the end of the game, her personality changes because, she enjoys drinking, and that's what she does most of the time in Red Dead Redemption 2. She either talks with the other girls at the camp, she either gets harassed by Sean, well, not technically harassed, but I guess you can call it another word. She gets drunk, she talks with the girls at the camp, she sometimes talks to Arthur in these, like, insanely good camp confessions, and that's about it. So, what happens, in my opinion, is that Karen's character development goes from a chilled and mellowed out young woman to a completely out of it drunk lady. She goes through such one hell of a personality change throughout the chapters, it's not even funny. Like, on the other hand, you've got this chilled woman in chapter 2, you got this bit of an aggro woman in chapters 3 through 4, well, I guess you could say a bit, like, mostly 3, where she wallops Molly in the face, which I think was, I don't know if I find it satisfying or not, but that was about it. And then in chapter 6, she's gone completely off the deep end. She's barely sober when you meet her at camp, and she's always talking about, oh, a sober world is a cruel world. Like, I can understand that. But I feel that's if the personality change is what draws the line for me. That's why I think Karen is a bit of an in-between character for me. I liked her in chapter 2, but my love kinda sorta steered out in chapter 6. But all in all, that's it. Karen Jones, I feel like she would have been a more likable character, and better yet, more of a character in more of the higher tiers if she wasn't like this way, but that's it. That's it for me. That's literally what I have to say about Karen. So now that we've done with the C tier characters, let's move on to the B tier characters. Alright, Pearson. Pearson, he's an alright guy, but definitely he was a bit more of a relatable character. He was the only, person who's, well, I guess you could say he was the only person that knew what being isolated was like. Before before he went into, the gang as the cook. Oh god, my earphones are pressuring into my ears. It's hurting now. But, what Pearson was like was that he was one of the characters who knew what it felt like to be isolated, and that was pretty much it. He knew what it was like, because before the events of the game, he was in the Navy and he was stranded. So what that did for him was it made him isolated. And, talking about, a kid who sometimes feels that way, and now with today's, current era, you sometimes feel that. Like, you got the pandemic and everything, and you sometimes feel isolated. But with Pearson, it's more like you're lost. It's lost. But other than that, his character was really good. I honestly quite liked him. It was not on the upside of it was not on the oh, he's funny, but he obviously had, a bit of a trait which I resonated with a bit more. He was always chill. He was always doing jobs for the camp, and being the camp cook. I can see that happening. But Pearson, he just left a pretty good impression on me. That's about it. That's about it. But the thing is, right? The thing is, Pearson, well, he never really does anything except give you the location of the trapper at the start of the game, and this one mission you gotta do for him in chapter 3, and there's crayfish egg hunting activity in chapter 4. That's it. But Pearson, I quite liked him. He was actually really nice. But that's about it. All I have to say is that Pearson was a likable character in my opinion, and that's about it. That was about it. So now that we got that out of the way, let's move on. Okay, so Uncle, he was actually a likable character too, but more on the relatable side of Pearson, because Pearson, he was like this isolated fellow who didn't know where exactly to go after he got stranded, and so he joined in with the gang, and that's kind of how he, found his home and everything like that. And then you got to meet him in the general store, which I forgot to mention. But here, Uncle, he's kind of more relatable to me, because most of the time I'm often a bit, lazy, and that's what everyone in camp exclaims to Uncle, despite his protests. But at least Uncle was a bit funny. His humor actually kinda, grew on me. It was this humor and this old wit that kinda just tightened into my soul. It was like this thing that you cannot get rid of. But I feel as if that was the main point of Uncle's character. It was just him being, the camp hermit, or the camp rat, as Alpha quotes. But I liked Uncle, and he was a really big help in the epilogue. Don't threaten me in the comments, please. But Uncle was a help in the epilogue. He was a big help, and it certainly, warms my soul to see him, partying with John and Charles and stuff. It was really fun. And then you got to rescue him from the cannibals or the Mercury Brood, and that was kind of fun. But honestly, Uncle is a bit of a really fun character. I really liked him, and honestly, we need more Red Dead 2 characters like Uncle. He's just really funny. And I think that's one of his most defining trait, him, talking to Reverend Swanson, and then, and then, partying with, John and Charles, and singing campfire songs, which I absolutely adore. I adore the campfire songs, in my opinion. They're one of the best things about the game. But, that's about it. Uncle is just really, he's just a character who's grown on me, and I feel as if that is just the main thing about it. So yeah, we got Uncle here, ladies and gentlemen. We got Uncle. So, for the next tier, oh shit, we got Molly O'Shea. Now, Molly O'Shea, this is coming from a redhead who's partially Irish, but Molly O'Shea, she was all right, but I definitely could have put her in one of the lower tiers, but the revelation of her revealing that she told the Pinkertons everything about the Vanillin gang, it really killed me. But the reason why I'm putting her average on the tier list is that she did, the bad things such as reveal to the Pinkertons where the gang is and stuff like that. But also because she now I'm not gonna say this because she's a redhead and I'm a redhead, but she was chill. Yeah, I'm doing the Karen excuse again, like the Karen excuse in the C tier section. But she was chill. She was an alright character. She was alright up until she revealed to the Pinkertons about where the gang's whereabouts is in chapter 6, and that's all there is to it. It's literally that. But all in all, I think this comes from me being a redhead and me actually liking redheaded characters. That's why I put Molly in the middle tier, because yeah, I'm not. This does not have anything to do with tier list rankings, but I thought I might just put that out of the way. But I'll be damned. I'm a proud redhead, and I just love redhead characters, and I swear to God, it's just my opinion. But yeah, the tier list ranking is a bit like it's thinning now. But of course, who else do we have? Okay, actually no. We got Jack Marston. Now, don't get me wrong, Jack is a good character, but I feel like Jack in Chapter 4 is a bit of an average character to me. If it's Jack in the epilogue, Jack in Red Dead Redemption 1, or Jack in the epilogue of Red Dead Redemption 1, he'll be higher on the tier list. But I feel as if Jack is a bit of an in-betweener like the other 3 characters on this list. I like him, but at the same time, well, I don't really know what to feel about Jack, because Jack, well, he was born in an era where outlaw, where the perceived philosophies of the outlaw era were coming to an end, and that's a bit of an understandable opinion. But Jack, there's nothing really interesting. Well, there's a bit of an interesting thing about Jack, because Jack is Jack Marston and all that, but he only ever did one mission where he only ever did a very few missions. You go fishing with him, you rescue him from Angelo Bronte's mansion, and I feel as if that is one of the main missions you go out with Jack. But if it's Jack from the epilogue or Jack from Red Dead Redemption 1, he would surely be high on the list. But Jack is more of an in-between character for me, but that's all I have to say. That's all there is to say. So, now that we got that out of the way, let's go over the final B tier character. Oh, hold on, wait a sec. I changed my mind. So we got A tier. This is the A tier characters. Now A tier, we got Reverend Swanson. Now Reverend Swanson, I liked him in Chapter 6. And that's the main reason why I'm putting him on A tier, because in the other, previous chapters, he was always out of it, and he was always depressed. But in Chapter 6, it was when he truly got his act together, and found out that the Vanillin gang was falling apart, and that was exactly it. And Reverend was, Reverend was kinda alright. Sure, in game he would annoy you from time to time, but in Chapter 6 was when he truly got his act together, and I feel as if that is the main reason why I'm putting him on the list, is because, one, he knows what is going on with the Vanillin gang, and two, he gets his act together, like, that's about it. He gets his act together, and and from here, it's sort of like, him understanding the core consequences of what it's like to be in pain. Like, you get out of pain, and then you try to rebuild yourself from the ground up, because Reverend, all he was trying to do was get himself from the ground up, in Chapter 6, and that's what he was trying to do. Reverend was an okay character, and that's my opinion, so there's really nothing else to say about this. So, we've covered Reverend, what else? Eagle Flies. Eagle Flies is just... Well, he definitely could be lower on the tier list, but I chose not to put him on there, because he was actually... He actually had, like, a bit of a likeness to him. Sure, he may come off as a bit brash and arrogant, unlike Rainsfall, his dad, but Rainsfall, he had a lot of qualities that made me think that, oh, he's certainly a good character, and he had a lot of, like, brave qualities as well. He's doing everything to fight for his people, and so on and so forth, and then, he saves Arthur in Chapter 6, and that was, like, the turning point of why I put Eagle Flies on A tier, is because he tried to save Arthur, and he did, and he paid the ultimate price for it. And if it weren't for, like, Dutch's exploitation of Rainsfall, Eagle Flies, and their group, Eagle Flies would have lived. And that's about it. So, Reverend and Eagle Flies, they're on there. I like Reverend because he got his act together. Eagle Flies is that he saved Arthur, and, he was just likable to me. He was likable. But, we also got, another character on the list, Javier. Javier was a Chad in the earlier chapters in the game. So that's why I'm putting him on the second highest tier on this list. Is that Javier was like, you know what's up kind of guy, and he just knew what was going on, but the only thing that dragged him down was his overbearing loyalty to the Vanillin gang. He was kind of like, oh, I'm saved by Dutch, I'm gonna be loyal to him, and that was about it. And then he just sort of had this insecurity about his place as a criminal. Like, he was like exclaiming to Dutch, is there a difference between, outlaws and criminals? And of course Dutch had to exclaim that there is of course a difference, and that Dutch's philosophy is what carries, the loyalty in the gang altogether. And I feel like the characterization of Javier specifically was that he was the definition of overused loyalty to something that may or may not go wrong, and Dutch's loyalty to the gang certainly went wrong, because the downfall occurred, and Javier was blindly loyal to him without question. I respected his loyalty, but all he did was follow the wrong man at the wrong time, and that's about it. And I'm giving extra props for him to not aim the gun at Arthur and John during the final standoff, but that was about it. All in all, Javier had, well, interesting characterization. He was like this what up kind of dude who knew how to get stuff done, and I feel as if that was the correct thing to insinuate here. So now that we've got one bar of characters left, let's go over the other characters. So actually, let's put Bill there, because I should have put Bill on A or B tier, but I feel like I just put Bill on B tier. Bill, he's an in-betweener character as well. I liked him, and then I really sort of just fell down from the rabbit hole. Bill, apart from being, the literal brawn of the Van Lin gang, he was okay. I respected his ferocity because what, that was trying to do, was that it could make Bill tough. And Bill was a tough guy, don't get me wrong, but it was more like, well, you get what I mean. Well, no, I don't really know. But, Bill, um, he was fierce. He had such infectious ferocity in Red Dead Redemption 2, and, when you do get to find out that he's one of the, members of Dutch, well, members of the gang sided with Dutch during the downfall, it just kind of fell short. Because at the same time, you understand why Bill did this option. He was loyal to Dutch, without a doubt, but it also left some pretty considerable gaps. Like, why did Bill leave after a few years, and how did he come across his own gang in Fort Mercer? Like, that's what I want to know. That's the literal question I want to know, is that why on God's green earth does Bill leave, and Javier leaves as well. He goes back to Mexico, I believe, and, it was like these gaps and, like, the characterization of Bill, in Chapter 6 that kind of threw me off. So, we got 5 characters in B tier, and of course, we also have these characters that we need to fill out as well. So, it is in my belief that Tilly Jackson is on A tier. Now, Tilly Jackson, she was, I guess you can say, the motivating drive of the female group in the Van Lin gang. She was always working hard, she was always aspiring, the other members about what she's doing, and, vice versa. And you just kind of feel bad for her when Grimshaw just sort of, you feel bad when Grimshaw dejects her, or not deject, but reprimand her for doing, like, no work, and that's kind of a shame. But Tilly, she was a good character. I liked her fate at the end of the epilogue, how she's married, has a kid, has a baby on the way, but and you do get to meet her as John after you complete the story. That's about it. But Tilly, she was an alright character. I kind of liked Tilly. She was more or less on the aspiring edge, like the motivating force behind the Van Lin gang, but not as quite motivating as... Well, she was motivating, but that's about it. So, she's not quite as motivating as Mary Beth. Mary Beth, even at the start of the game, I just liked her from the very start. She was so likable, and the fact that she relates to me as an aspiring writer, and the fact that I am a writer myself, well, not really a full-on writer, but a writer that's aspiring to be a real one, so it's a hobby. But Mary Beth, she was more inspirational to the ladies of the Van Lin gang. We got Tilly and Mary Beth, and then we got Karen in C tier. And Mary Beth, she's the most motivating out of the ladies in the Van Lin gang. She was always like this encouragement, like this driving, encouraging force of what Arthur's next decision is going to be. Because in the final camp conversation with her before she leaves, she gives off this spine-chilling, tear-jerking motivational speech about Arthur, who's suffering from tuberculosis, with Mary Beth encouraging him to try and do at least something good in his life before he passes away. And that was about it. Chapter 6 was all about redemption, and Mary Beth, in my opinion, was the aspiring motivational force behind, Arthur's redemption. Because Mary Beth, she has a good ending as well, where you do get to meet her as John, and then you find out she's a writer and all that. It's really cool. But then again, I always saw her as this, motivational kind of gal. she was kinda, oh, I'm motivating people, to try and do the good thing. And that's what I liked about Mary Beth. That's what I liked about Mary Beth. It was her strongest quality. That was her strongest quality. I liked it because it was the strongest quality that I just couldn't, overbear to put on A tier, and that's pretty good. So, for this tier, we also have Susan Grimshaw. Now, Grimshaw, she was okay. At first, she was kind of like the camp dragon of the Van Lin gang. She was always like reprimanding and forcing characters like Arthur to, for example, if you're covered in mud and you go to the camp or covered in mud, you'll be forced to wash yourself, and then you'll be paid by Grimshaw you'd be paid by Grimshaw to get washed afterwards. Like, it's really something that I could say I didn't really like about Grimshaw. But Grimshaw, she was alright. She was this fierce older woman that had ferocity. Well, I could say it was more or less driven by her protectiveness of the Van Lin gang. She was like, I'm going to keep everything sane and secure, and that was about it. And then we get to see this ferocity of the character when Tilly gets kidnapped by the Foreman boys, and that's when I realized that Grimshaw is actually not bad of a character as I think, because underneath all that harsh, reprimanding demeanor, she actually cared for the group. And that's what I liked about Susan Grimshaw, was that she cared. She cared enough to know the faults of what happens when the group comes in a wrong situation. But with that alone, I feel as if that's me saying what I need to say about Grimshaw. Now, A tier is Sean. Now, as a redhead, Sean was a good tier character. He was a god tier character. Well, not god tier, because I'll save that for S tier. But Sean, he was very likable. He was witty. He was humorous. He was, a bit of a, stick 'em up kind of, person. But Sean just hit me in the right notes. He was like this really good character who knew what was going on, and that was about it. That's all there is. It's literally just him, just trying to prove himself to the gang. Or no, it's more or less on Kieran's side, but it was him trying to act all tough, and he was very tough. He had this youthful vigor. He had this humorous vigor that also complemented his trying to prove himself kind of shtick, where he tried to follow the Arthur's footsteps, for example. He always wanted to be one of the gang's higher ups, and Sean, in my opinion, is just too damn likable. And I'm saying this because he's likable and the fact that he has red hair like me. But all in all, what I really have to say is that Sean was a damn good character, and it was a shame that he died. The only good Irishman in the Van Lin gang that died, and it was a shame that he died. Rest in peace, Sean. At least you deserve at least you're at peace now, but that was about it. So, coming in up, we have Abigail Roberts, or Marston, and that was Abigail Marston. We have Abigail Roberts or Abigail Marston. Now, I sort of liked Abigail. She was a bit unbearable in the start to end of the game, but it was like that because she actually cared for John. At the epilogue, you could see her change slightly, Like, you can see her starting to build a new life with John. Like, her and John, they try to build a life. They try to build a new life for themselves, for Jack, and that was like this driving force for Abigail in the epilogue, because you get to see what the Marston family is going through after the Van Lin gang's downfall, and the loss of Arthur Morgan, and other good friends that Abigail and the others have made along the way. But that was about it. That was about it. Now, we of course, okay, we of course have this memorable proposal scene where John proposes to Abigail at nearly towards the end of the epilogue, and it's like really emotional because it shows that John really does care, and it shows that Abigail really does care as well, and the love of her family, like the love for her family, is what really, ticked me, like provoked me to put her on the higher tiers, because she was chill. Another quality is that she was chill and mellowed out, and that was about it. It was her being chilled and mellowed out, and then we also have this amazing, big development cycle that she goes through in the epilogue, and I think that's pretty it. She barely appears in the epilogue, but she still makes a higher importance of the epilogue, like the Marstons trying to build their families and that was about it. So we got S tier now. We've done all the we've done all the characters. Well, we've done nearly all the characters. So let's move on to the big money. The S tier characters are Rainsfall. Rainsfall was damn likable. I'm sorry, but I loved Rainsfall. He was one of the most well-developed side characters in any video game I've ever played in my life, and I'm sorry, but there needs to be more side characters like Rainsfall. His leadership, his love for his decaying tribe, it all just hit me that I knew I was going to like Rainsfall, because Rainfall was a wise, calculative, and otherwise chilled out leader that knew exactly what a decision, right or wrong, is, and what the repercussions of it hold, and that's why I liked him, and that's why I helped him out a lot more than I refused to help him in Chapter 6 when I was playing as Arthur, because in all my free playthroughs, in all my free finished playthroughs of Red Dead Redemption 2, I never refused to help Rainsfall, because that's how much I like the character. He's likable, he left a big impression on me, and when you do meet him as John, you get a big honor boost, and I think that's worth it if you're looking for those honorable discounts. But in terms of story, Rainsfall, I just liked him. I'm sorry, but he's one of the god tier characters in Red Dead 2. Like, that was about it. I just loved Rainsfall's character. Oh, I can't speak today. I'm doing this at night, by the way, so I'm a bit tired. But, Rainsfall, amazing character. What more could you want? We need more characters like Rainsfall. At least you have to agree with me on that. Now, we have good old Lenny Summers. Now, Lenny, he was an S tier character as well. I actually liked Lenny because Lenny was like one of those best friends you could always count for, and it certainly does help when you do this like drinking mission where you get drunk with Lenny and you go roam around the saloon trying to find Lenny while the Greek text is reversed. Is one of the funniest missions I've ever played in my life. And that's when I knew I was going to like Lenny, because Lenny, he's a goddamn OG. I just loved Lenny. He's just like this really good character, and like I said earlier, he's like one of those best friends, and if I had a best friend like Lenny, we would just have a goddamn good time. Like, I just imagine him and Arthur up in heaven, drinking in a heavenly themed saloon, and just, you know, talking about the good times and what they experienced in the events of the game. Like, that was about it. That was about it. And, that was what I liked about Lenny, is that his mission is hilarious, his death was very sad, and at least I felt a pinch of sadness when I saw his death. That's when I felt bad for Lenny, because Lenny, he was the youngest in the, well, not necessarily the youngest, but he was one of the younger people in the Vanillin gang, and him dying was like a gunshot to the chest, because it was really sad. Oh god, I just miss Lenny so much. He was such a damn likable character. Alright, now, next on the S tier train we have Charles Smith. I don't know about you, but Charles Smith is the purest motherfucker in the entire game. And that's me saying it. Charles is just the purest, he's just the purest man alive. He's like one of the most, he's like the most nicest gang member you can ever have in your life. And it certainly does help when he's like fiercely loyal, and it really hit me in the right notes when, you know, his pacifist morals kicked in. And that's when I feel the same about Charles as well, is that I'm also a pacifist, and I think that life is, you know, very precious and all that. So Charles is just too damn likable, and I have to say that when he did, like, the most brave act in the entire series, like, luring out the Pinkertons to his position, like, that was fiercely brave and loyal, and it certainly does help that not only is Charles, like, the purest motherfucker on the entire game, but he's a fiercely loyal one too. He's got your back no matter what, even on the verge of death, and it really hit my heart in the right spots, because Charles, I fell for the character of Charles, because he was so damn likable. I'm sorry, but I just loved Charles. Like, why the hell would he be a criminal? He just sounds too pure. Like when you kill a man, even if it's not a kill from him, he sort of just reprimands you for it. Like, in a friendly way, he just scolds you for, like, killing a person. Like, he says, "What are you doing? Like, you shouldn't kill this man." Like that. That's what I'm getting at. Is that Charles is just too pure and too, you know, he's just too, like, much of a pacifist, and that's what I liked about him. His strongest quality was his loyalty, and his loyalty was at the right kind of people, like Arthur, John, Charles, I said his name again. Arthur, John, Uncle, Sadie. Like, that's it. That's literally it. And then we got the Marston family, who he's also loyal to. That's like a loyal man right there. And excuse me, I'm tired. But the tier list rank is almost over, guys. It's nearly over. But that was it. There's nothing else to say about Charles. Charles is a fiercely loyal member, and his fate was actually good too. He went to Canada at the end of the epilogue, and I really hope that in future DLC or in Red Dead Redemption 3, if it comes out, that we get to see Charles again, because Charles is like one of those characters I would love to see again in a prequel or a sequel or just a DLC. Who knows? But coming in at another S tier is Hosea. Hosea, I feel like, he was, I don't know if I should say what I want to say about Hosea, because when I see someone that's God tier, I'm just speechless about how well developed and well liked they are, because even in death, Hosea was a wise individual. He was a wise individual that knew the flaws and the repercussions of the consequences of the gang's future. He even hinted out at some point, well, he even hinted out in Chapter 2, when he wrote to Horseshoe Overlook, that maybe Dutch is changing, and his growing condition of dying is what, makes him afraid. He just wants people to be safe before he passes away, and that's the sad bit, because Dutch, excuse me, because Dutch, he really was a changed person. He just couldn't, sort out his philosophies a bit more in a tangible way. He wanted to live in a law-free country, and Hosea, on the other hand, he wanted to see exactly what those consequences bring for him, and it's just him being like the wisest man in the entire gang, because he cares for people. He cares for Arthur. He cares for John as his sons. He wants to see the world prosper in its darkest age possible. Even in death, Hosea was a really good character, and it's sad that he died, because when he died, I just didn't know what to feel anymore. I just didn't know. But yeah, we got 4 more characters in this tier list ranking to go, and on the other hand, I'll just change the tier list ranking. I don't know. Micah sound like D tier, but yeah, I just thought I might change that for a bit. So now we've got what else? We got Dutch. Dutch was a god tier character, and I know he's basically a meme at this point with I've got a plan, Orpher. I got a plan, Orpher, and we need, and then, oh, sorry, one of my Funko Pops fell out, and then we also got, we just need money, and that was basically the memes of Dutch, was that he, was basically leaning towards, a law-free government, and that his philosophies, in his opinion, were perceived as a way to prosper through the dark ages of society, in a society where outlaw tradition was basically becoming outdated or dying out at this point, and Dutch was the charisma that was holding it together. He knew what was up. He knew what was going on, and I'm basically putting him on S tier because he was a well-developed character, I'm not even saying it. I'm even saying this with pure honesty, guys. Believe me, Dutch has always been a god tier character in my eyes, even after repeated playthroughs, and even before or even after he suffered that hypothetical head injury in Chapter 4, which is up to interpretation by most people, and like the deaths of others and his paranoia. He tried his best. And when I heard that voice line of him proclaiming to everyone that they're goddamn snakes and that he kept everyone safe, it just flew right home. And I just knew that Dutch was like basically breaking down at this point. He was like, he was like basically keeping everyone together, but of course that didn't work with the deaths of them in the gang and his increasing paranoia and insanity, and and his death in Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 1, and that's about it, because Dutch is likable. I'm sorry, but he was like too much of an important character to be recurring, and that's in my opinion, because we also got on the other hand what Dutch wants and what happened with Dutch. It's basically just the expectation versus reality thing, but even with Dutch's character development throughout all the 6 major chapters in Red Dead Redemption 2, he went through quite a development, and I think that's what earned him a spot on this god tier, S tier. So that was about it. Now S tier is Sadie. Now hear me out. Sadie was extremely likable. Even before she became a badass, I just knew that her character development would pave the way. And my god, I was right. Her character development from a tough gunslinging badass of a woman to chapter 3, all the way through chapter 6, was something I liked. I loved Sadie Adler's character, and I loved her actress's performance on the character. It made for a stunning characterization. It made for a good performance. It made for a good character development. It made for a good likable character, and I respect Rockstar for giving us yet another likable, well, I'm pretty sure, I'm just gonna say it gave us yet another likable female character in all Rockstar games. Especially in Red Dead, because out of all the female characters in Red Dead, specifically this tier list, she's the most likable. And, sorry, I'm yawning again constantly, Jesus. She certainly is the most badass and most likable, and her personality just resonates with me. Because you've got her grieving her dead husband, and you've got her turning her grief into, this driving force to drive out evil that took her only thing away from her. That was basically the characterization of Sadie in a nutshell, was that she paid the ultimate price, and she turned her pain and grief into something that will drive the evil away. And that was basically it. It was all for nothing with Sadie. It was either get the job done or get out. Well, that was, I wouldn't necessarily count it as her mindset, but yeah, that was about it. So yeah, we also got other characters go forward too, and we got the two protagonists left. We got two of the protagonists left. Now it's going to be very obvious, but John and Arthur are on S tier. Now, on God's green earth, how did you do this, Rockstar? There's simply no way. How on God's green... how on the fuckery of God's green earth have you made such two likable outlaw protagonists? You've got John, who's the OG of Red Dead Redemption 1, and then you've got Arthur Morgan, the OG badass from Red Dead Redemption 2. There's no competition! How on God's green earth have you made such god-tier, likable characters? There's simply no way I can describe this by saying that John Marston and Arthur freaking Morgan are god-tier characters. This is not even an exaggeration. This is just me saying that, oh my god, these characters are going to be with me, with my heart, until the very day I pass from this world. Because John and Arthur, they were good characters. And their deaths, oh, don't get me started on their deaths, please. The deaths of John and Arthur were sad, but I feel as if Arthur was more sadder than John's. Because I cried for a few hours when Arthur died, and that was about it. I cried, and that was it. And now, since I finished Red Dead Redemption 2 for the third time, and I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 1, I'm just going to have excuse me. I'm just going to have a really fun experience, because Red Dead Redemption, the series as a whole, is a really good series, and if you like outlaw games, or if you like story-driven games made by Rockstar, then play Red Dead Redemption. I know some people play a lot of online material, but if you have Red Dead Redemption 2, please, and for God's sake, play the goddamn story, if you have spare time, because the story is really well done. And so, I'm going to conclude this tier list ranking right here. Now, that was a lot of time. We've gone through an hour and 14 minutes of discussing this, and I'd really hope that I can put this on YouTube. Let's hope, by the way, let's hope. But, that's it. that's the tier list ranking in a nutshell. We of course have this tier list ranking done, and I'm thinking of doing more. If you want me to do more suggestions, if you want me to do more, and if you like, put down suggestions in the comment section below. I would love to do the suggestions on my spare time, but that's it. That's it. I've had my good and bad rants on how good and bad these characters are, but that's my brutally honest opinion on the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters. So, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? I don't really care. Opinions are opinions. Like, you have your own and I have my own. So, that's about it. So, yeah, I would like to thank everyone for watching this video in the future. And I'm Rock, and this was my brutally honest tier list ranking of all the Red Dead Redemption 2 characters. Like the major ones. Like, I wouldn't count Gavin as a major one because he's a chance encounter. But in conclusion, yeah. This was my tier list ranking, my brutally honest tier list ranking of all the characters in Red Dead Redemption 2. Please know what you think in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell so you won't miss out on videos. And yes, my video schedule is too infrequent, so is my Twitch, but hey, I'm busy and I'm sometimes too lazy to do anything, so anyway, I'm Rock, and this has been my tier list ranking of Red Dead Redemption 2 characters, so I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good day and peace out, and may you all have a lovely day or lovely night, depending on where you live. Alright, 3, 2, 1, stop the recording right now.